So, Armin, what was your reaction last night when you heard that Donald Trump said, "We are locked and loaded with the most amount of firepower since World War II. However, because the Islamic Republic came forward and is trying to negotiate seriously and at the request of other Middle Eastern countries, which would be Saudi Arabia in this case, we have chosen to give negotiations another chance."
My reaction was that Trump probably didn't want to attack to begin with. He made it seem like he was going to attack to bring the Islamic Republic to the negotiating table. And he did a very good job in making it seem like he was about to attack. And everybody, even the Israelis thought the attack is coming, CENTCOM attack was coming, thought the attack was coming, but it's possible that attack was not even planned. And this was all to pressure the Islamic Republic to come to the negotiating table, back to the negotiating table, to scare them. And they did. They
Correct.
came back to the negotiating table. The problem is that whatever they offered at the negotiating table, they're going to violate it.
Correct. And so we have our first piece of therapy for you guys, which is that in Iran, the Islamic Republic state media, a lot of them are reporting that they have already fired a anti-ship cruise missile towards a ship over the past hour in the Strait of Hormuz. So we're waiting on verification from that to see if that's true. That would be ridiculous. I mean, even yesterday when the quote unquote peace talks happened again, they hit 2 ships. So for them to hit another one today screams internal discord. It looks like what may have happened here is not as easy as it may seem to us. So for us, we're well versed in Iran. We know that there's different factions. Someone can come out and say, "Hey, America, yes, we'll give you whatever you want." That doesn't necessarily mean they actually have the power to do that. Someone else will stop them internally. And we'll talk about that in just a second here. So here's what alarmed me. So according to the Wall Street Journal, part of this so-called deal is actually lifting oil sanctions. Armin, didn't we see them lift oil sanctions the last time? They lifted oil sanctions first. The Islamic Republic sold $9 billion worth of oil, which, to be fair, is controlled by the U.S. But they got the carrot first and no stick to push them along. And I would not want to see that happen again this time. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the Americans are not stupid. They know that the Islamic Republic is going to violate this deal. I just think that the calculation is that there's too much oil infrastructure that is too vulnerable sitting there without a defense system being able to protect it. And the if they want to go all out with the infrastructure of the Islamic Republic, the Islamic Republic will be able to do the same thing, especially in Saudi Arabia. Hence why, which is the reason why Saudi Arabia is very sensitive about this. We don't have enough defense for being able to protect all the oil infrastructure and many other infrastructure there if we want to do such an attack. So the optimistic take is that given that the Americans know that this is the case, they're planning for. So here's the pessimistic take and the optimistic take. Let's go with the optimistic first. The optimistic take is that because there's not enough defense for all the infrastructure around the Persian Gulf, you have to plan for something a lot faster and bigger. And that takes time. And the United States is just dragging this on to be able to prepare for that big, fast attack. The negotiations, the ceasefire is an excuse to prepare for something so fast and so big that the Islamic Republic wouldn't even have the opportunity to, rain down missiles upon the oil infrastructure around the region. That's the optimistic take. The pessimistic take is that, no, it's the Islamic Republic that is dragging this and making it longer just to get to the midterms. And there is no major plan for a big operation. And the Islamic Republic thinks that if, as long as they could drag this on to the midterms, after the midterms, the Democrats are going to win, and President Trump will not be able to do as much as he wants to because Congress has the power of the purse.
We're going to cover everything you just said. And everything you just said is a very good bunch of points here. Before we get into that, Nabavian came out and said something about this. So a member of parliament of the Islamic Republic made a statement. And what he said was this: following the heavy blows from the warriors of the resistance front, he means the terrorists, the rise in energy prices, the depletion of strategic reserves, and domestic political pressure in America, following all of this, okay? Unfortunately, after all this, some individuals in Iran who are motivated by various factors, including the desire to rescue the enemy, have once again begun thinking about negotiations. This group should know that such negotiations will not be acceptable to the loyal and resilient Iranian nations. This is Nabavian, a member of the Paidari camp of the Islamic Republic. The people who listen to this guy are the extreme Durkas, the ones that you will never be able to change their mind, the ones who the Islamic Republic, the 2, 5, 10% of the population the Islamic Republic needs under their control to stay in power. They listen to this guy. This guy just came out and said, we got some traitors here in the Islamic Republic who want to negotiate. Traitors. America is on the back foot. They ran out of oil. There's political pressure. Gas prices are high. And now we're trying to deal with the Americans? Is Ghalibaf in his right mind? Is Araghchi in his right mind? Why would we negotiate with the enemy? This is a pattern we've seen 8 times. Actually, 8 times. So already people in the Islamic Republic and these analysts are coming out and saying stuff like that. They're saying stuff like that. They're saying stuff like this. They're saying control the Strait Hormuz means that we control both routes. We'll never let the US just take one of the routes for itself and carry on willy-nilly. And more and more. There's no final deal made. Trump's going to retreat from his threats. We got to stay strong. You know, all these people saying this kind of makes me think that, hey, maybe the Islamic Republic is not really that unified when they tell you they're going to make a deal. So here's the thing. Here's something that's gonna make you guys feel better.
So before you say that, Ali, first of all, you're right. Like, it's very unlikely that they will make a deal. But even if they do make a deal, they will violate the deal.
Completely correct. Completely correct. And, you know, that's exactly something that we have to talk about in just a second. The Mujtaba factor in this, the different factions, there is no way that they can make a deal. But I want to make sure you guys feel better for a second here. This is a pause. And a pause buys the Islamic Republic time. It doesn't give them relief. They still have crippling economic pressures, internal division. At some point, there's going to be some sort of a bloody coup within. They're not going to peacefully come to terms with each other in the Islamic Republic. And most of the country is under the poverty line. The people want to rise up and take back their country as soon as possible. And actually, Prince Reza Pahlavi's team released something for us regarding the people. We'll take a look at that. Iranians in Iran know what the true economic situation is in the country. They also know they deserve better. But over the decades that the Islamic Republic has clobbered them on the head, repeatedly saying, you guys are infidels, you don't follow Islam, you're not that great, restricting them, hijab rules, all of this and that. The Iranian people, in my opinion, have forgotten who they truly are. They deserve much, much better than this. They're close to America. What other countries in the Middle East do you see that they try to learn English on their own? try to become closer to American culture. They try to learn and innovate, and they're scientific. Iran produces the highest amount of PhDs in Asia after China. Its population does, a lot of them, especially the younger generation, speaks English. These people deserve so much better than this. So let's go back to the government. The government, with this pause, evades external accountability. The countries around it are buying time for it. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan are doing their best to keep the Islamic Republic alive. And on that front, right now, it seems the Islamic Republic is doing good, except for the fact that the entire American military at this point is right on their doorstep. And every week they're getting threatened from a massive strike. What does this do? The fact that they're forced to go back to peace and a deal forces them to deal with their problems internally, which are immense. Some people in the Islamic Republic, we've shown you guys this over the past few months, they are crying out to go back to war so bad. They want it because they know internally they're going to get screwed over if they have to focus internally on division and all of that. They want to go back to war. They want a common enemy, and they don't like this at all. Global trade for the Islamic Republic has collapsed because of the blockade. They're not making any money. It is not looking so good for them. So while that this pause is continued, and while I'm completely frustrated at how much longer this has to take, and we have to see, potentially us even going to a dead end, know that at the same time, the situation in the Islamic Republic, for them economically and diplomatic, everything is terrible. It might not be so good for the United States right now, but it's terrible for them. Armin, what do you think about the cycle that we've seen so far? I mean, this is actually the 8th time. How is the Islamic Republic doing now, the 8th time that we see a pause compared to the first time?
So the Islamic Republic is now very emboldened. Their understanding is that the United States is the reason why they're canceling their attacks is because they can't attack. They think they must have the upper hand. They think that they are winning this, and the Americans are backing out every time because they can't actually deliver on the threats. So they think that why should we even agree to a deal, given that the Americans have proven that they cannot follow through with their threats? That means that we need to escalate. That means that we need to keep, expanding. We shouldn't accept the deal. Their understanding is that President Trump walked into a war that he thought it would be easy, that the Israelis convinced him that this would be easy. He walked into it, and now he's stuck in it, and now he wants to leave it. So, but they're not going to let him leave. They say, like, we got you right where we want, and you keep threatening us, and then every time it gets to the deadline, you don't follow with the threat. So, but you want to leave, but you can't leave with the Strait of Hormuz being taken over by us. So you're basically threatening us to get rid of the Strait of Hormuz, but we're going to keep the Strait of Hormuz so that you're stuck here, and we could keep hitting you with our missiles. And even though you have really good air defense, you're losing a lot of money, and we're basically exhausting all of your missile defense, and we're going to keep throwing missiles at your air bases in the region until it gets shrunk to dangerously low levels for you. And not only that, we haven't even done the most we could do, which is basically attack the oil infrastructure in the region.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The missile interceptors, if they're such a big deal, why would the U.S. military, in a military plan, wait for their own stocks of interceptors to keep on getting depleted by Islamic Republic ballistic missiles? Why not go on the offense? Take out the missile city entrances, take out the launchers, put some surveillance up in the air. The best defense is a good offense. We've been saying that for quite a while now on that front, and that's actually what Brad Cooper, the commander of CENTCOM, is advocating for. Now, his superior, Dan Kane, is hesitant because he sees things on a broader picture. What if there's a war with China? What if something escalates to be bigger? We need those interceptors for that. But, Armin, here's the thing. The United States is bringing in more and more equipment from around the world this time. They are bringing in, through Globemasters, these are heavy airlifters from South Korea. So they're bringing them in from South Korea all the way to the United States, then from the United States across the pond to Europe and the Middle East. I took a look at these planes and what those bases have. Those bases have Patriot missiles. They have Patriot missile systems, and these are heavy airlifters. The Globemasters are probably the biggest plane in the United States Air Force, and largely we're believing that they are bringing in more Patriot missile and THAAD and more missile interceptors from Asia, from Korea. Guys, this is right next to China that they're bringing this equipment from, which is very interesting. So in addition to that, you're also bringing back radars. So these are going to be more airlifts, more Globemasters from Europe coming in. These are bringing in radar, we believe. The radars that were destroyed as early warning systems in Kuwait and Bahrain. Keep in mind, you might think, oh my God, those early radars got destroyed. That's terrible. That's actually their purpose. They're really expensive, but you put them there. They're early warning. They're meant to get destroyed and taken out first, but you get that early warning. That's what's happening. So we're bringing back in some of those. And we can even see on the map that we spotted the Abraham Lincoln actually directly. So as of 24 hours ago on the satellite, we were able to see that the Abraham Lincoln, oh, let me make this bigger. Why the picture's like that? So the Abraham Lincoln is right there, but it's alone. And it's within Islamic Republic ballistic missile range. So that begs the question. I'm actually kind of curious. I don't know if anyone knows in the chat, but why is it alone? There's actually no destroyers or any support ships around it. The Abe Lincoln is on its own right now, and it's only 200 kilometers off the coast, which puts it in range of missiles. I've yet to find an explanation from that, but hey, they know what they're doing better than any of us could possibly imagine. So that's in terms of the equipment. We're still bringing in a ton more. This time we're switching into the heavy planes, not the KC-135s or 17s. These are the Globemasters, massive planes coming in. And at the same time, we can see in Iraqi Kurdistan that we continue, that would be here in northern Iraq, we're continuing to evacuate U.S. forces from Erbil, taking our Patriot missile interceptors. We're bringing them back to, looks like either Israel or Saudi Arabia is my best guess. And we'll see in the end where those end up. So the preparations, guys, are all there. The deal is going to fall apart the same way it did the past 8 times. Armin, what would make you start doubting U.S. intentions? Could it possibly be troop removals, equipment removals, or something else? What would make you start being like, okay, this is not going the way that we wanted to?
Well, okay, so it's already, I wouldn't word it like that, because we have to always remind people the United States has inflicted more damage to the Islamic Republic than we ever could have imagined, right? So everything that we talk about when it comes to United States doing what we want or what we not want, the United States' responsibility, I mean, you're American, so maybe you could say that. I'm not American. So the United States' responsibility is to the American people, not to the Iranian people. The United States, the U.S. government should move only towards U.S. interests, only make decisions based on U.S. interests. The fact that we Iranians benefit a lot from United States doing what is best for United States is because we have a lot of mutual aligned interests. So when it comes to me as an Iranian, looking at what Americans have done, maybe obviously it's not as much as we want, but what we want is not the issue. What America wants is the issue. And whatever the United States has done has already been more than what we could expect it, and we should always be grateful for that. Okay, so let me just say that. But if you're asking what United States would do, what could United States do for us to realize that this phase of the attacks are over, is obviously if they start moving their airstrike carrier groups and their amphibious groups out of the region. That would be a huge signal. If the Islamic Republic is not toppled and they move things out of the region, they will eventually be back anyways, because one way or another, the Islamic Republic and United States are at odds with each other, and for as long as the Islamic Republic survives, the United States will eventually come back to have to help finish the job. The job will be finished by the Iranian people, but as long as the Islamic Republic exists, it will eventually lead to a major conflict between the Islamic Republic and the United States at some point. It could be earlier, it could be later, but for as long as the Islamic Republic is there. Here's the thing: the United States cannot afford to allow is not I cannot afford. The United States is not going to allow the Islamic Republic just take over the Strait of Hormuz and have enriched uranium and also continue to support its proxies all over the region. It's just not going to do that. Even if you pause, it will come back to it. And the Islamic Republic also is not going to stop enriching uranium. It's not going to stop trying to maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz, and it's not going to stop supporting the proxies and its terrorist groups all across the world. At some point, the Islamic Republic, if you leave the Islamic Republic alone, at some point they're going to get a nuclear weapon. At some point they're going to get biological weapons. At some point they're going to come to the United States and arm their sleeper cells in the United States with biological weapons. So the United States cannot afford to just allow the Islamic Republic to exist. So one way or another, we are going to go with regime change.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.